Hey y'all, it's Cindy Cobb with Around the Town of the South, and I am with one of my favorite people, TJ Harvey from the Alzheimer, Mississippi nonprofit. I've known TJ for about 9 years. I met him a couple of months after moving home, and I've watched TJ, you probably don't even know this, but I've watched you from a side for the last 9 years. You give back to organizations. You have a love for Mississippi, which I love that. And I just said, I have to have him on because I want to know about what you do for Alzheimer's Mississippi. So thank you for being here with us.
Well,
welcome.
Thank you for inviting me on.
Good.
So well, thank you. I like that. I need you to introduce me all the time.
It's true.
So yeah, we're here at the Alzheimer's Mississippi office. We're a state nonprofit. We're an independent organization, so we get to focus on Mississippi and direct our dollars into programs that are of interest to our donors, our board of directors, and things that we feel that are going to benefit Mississippians in the long run. So
I do know that you were a part of the Alzheimer's National. Mm-hmm. How long ago did y'all break off and form the Mississippi Alzheimer's?
Yeah, so we've, our board of directors about 2 years ago unanimously decided to become an independent nonprofit organization. We've been around since 1990, but since the past 2 years, we've been an independent nonprofit. So, yeah.
That's awesome. So tell me a little bit about where the money goes. I know the money stays in Mississippi, which I absolutely love. Y'all know I'm a firm believer in knowing where your money goes when you give, and knowing who's a recipient of the money. So tell me, I know you have fundraisers. We're going to talk about that in a minute.
Yeah.
Where does the money go for this organization?
So a lot of our funds goes into our education and programs and support services. So we have a social worker that we work with. We have also somebody on the coast that we work with. So if a family needs help navigating this journey with Alzheimer's disease, figuring out Medicare, Medicaid, long-term care, what do I do next? Just having a conversation with other family members, because sometimes it's bringing in the family together to have a conversation. So we help with that. We have a couple of conferences that we do. We have one coming up actually on November the 9th at First Baptist. It's free to the community. We do provide service hours or CEU hours for professionals at a small cost, but to anybody in the community that wants more information, all of our programs are free. We work with our research institutes. We have a good relationship with the Mind Center at UMC, Precise Research in Flowood, and the Memory Center in Hattiesburg. So we work closely with these organizations in promoting their clinical trials and advocating for caregivers in Mississippi and in Washington, D.C. As you know, I love Washington, D.C.
I do know that. You love to travel. You're like I am. Okay, so I know you have several events. And first off, let me just say, if you don't know, November is Alzheimer's. Isn't that correct?
Yes. November is National Alzheimer's Month.
Right. So that's another reason why we're doing this right before that happens, because even though they have events all year long, you can go and donate at any time on their website. We'll get that information. It's going to be on here on the description. So tell us about your big events that you're doing right now.
So right now we have some walks coming up across the state. Since November is National Alzheimer's Month, we have a walk coming up on November the 10th in Ridgeland at Trace Park. So if you want to be involved with that, you can show up the day of. You can go to our website, alzms.org, and sign up. There's a registration fee of $25, but you get a t-shirt that you can wear proudly to help knock out Alzheimer's, because that's our theme.
Wow, cool.
We have some walks in Meridian next weekend. We have a walk in the Delta, and we also have a walk in Brookhaven, my hometown of Columbia. We're doing one there because I thought, since I am from, why not do one in your hometown?
Of course. Spread the love.
Spread the love.
And then the next thing I know that you do a wine tasting type event.
Yes,
Tell us about that.
That's my favorite, and that's why I got involved.
Because I know you have been attending for years.
So the Sante South Wine Festival, we're actually in the planning for that already. I can't believe it. April the 6th. 2019.
Oh, wow.
It is our largest fundraising event. We bring in vineyards from around the world, and that's what makes the event so much fun, is that it's not just come and have wine and talk to your friends. You actually get to talk to the vintners and the winemakers and the people who work the vineyard. So we have representatives from Chile, Argentina, Spain, Germany, South Africa.
Wow.
And of course, the western states, California, Oregon, and Washington State. So you actually get to have a conversation with these folks and say, ask if you're a novice or you're very familiar with wines, you get to have a conversation and learn more about their grape and about with their product. So it's a really great event. But of course, if you just want to come and have some wine,
come on. Well, I know that you also have food there and music. It's a really, really beautiful event. Yeah. It's usually out at Renaissance in Ridgeland. It's lit up. That place is absolutely beautiful for events. So if you've never been, pop out there and go to this event. We'll post that stuff on there also. So going forward with what your position is, and I know that you do a lot, like you said, with legislation and with Mississippi, with the Mississippi groups. Can you tell us why and where you are different from the organizations? What would prompt me to give my money to Alzheimer's Mississippi over another Alzheimer's group if I was going to choose?
Yeah, well, we support everybody in the fight against Alzheimer's disease. But Alzheimer's Mississippi, we are a state nonprofit. We are local, so the money that we raise, we do reinvest here in Mississippi. So we, with our partnerships again with the Mind Center and Precise and our conferences and our support services, we're also in the process of growing how we help families. So that is in the planning stage, but
so stay tuned for that. That's going to be big when that is launched out. That's huge. I love that part. So if there's one particular family or case or anything, I love asking this question, anything since you've been involved that has touched your heart that you will remember for the rest of your life, is there anything that you could share with us that keeps you here, keeps you grounded, and keeps you wanting to fight this fight with Alzheimer's brain disease?
That's a good question, and it really is. And this may sound, it's not like a big answer, but there was one conversation, and oftentimes it is the conversations that I have with caregivers and people that are at the beginning stage of caring for a loved one. They just need to talk to somebody. And sometimes it's spending 2 hours on the phone and just talking through the process and hearing them say, thank you for listening, thank you for understanding, because nobody else does. And sometimes just being here. But the one conversation I remember was actually a young man. I think that he was college age, maybe a little bit older, but without revealing too much information, his grandmother was driving and didn't know where she was, and then the cops got involved, and it kind of was an escalated situation. And so, of course, on a tangent, we do try to educate our local community and law enforcement on knowing the differences with somebody's, dealing with a cognitive memory issue as opposed to something else. But I was on the phone with him for a couple of hours, and we talked through it, and then I referred him to our social worker, and then she was able to handle things from there. But she later came back and told me that he was very grateful of the time that I spent with him on the phone, and talking through, okay, this is what's happening, this is what you need to do, because it was a situation that he was unfamiliar with, and because it did unfortunately escalate in a way that they weren't prepared for. And so just being able to be here to talk him through that, and then hearing that, okay, it helped him. It calmed his nerves, eased some anxiety. Not that it made it any easier, but just,
At least he had a support system.
Right, a support system.
And that is huge. And I'll tell you a story that we haven't told very often with my family. And this is why I understand as a caregiver what you see. Last year, my dad was in the hospital. We were in Texas, and he had been having some memory issues. They told us that he was in the beginning stages of Alzheimer's and dementia, and he would forget things. We just knew, and we were preparing ourselves as much as we could. The doctors were telling us things, and We ended up in the hospital. They gave my daddy a pharmaceutical medication to battle an issue. My daddy had an allergic reaction or some kind of chemical imbalance reaction, and my daddy was completely as though he was at the ending stages of Alzheimer's, in that he didn't know who we were. He thought that people were after him. He was in his state of mind was completely something I had never seen in my life, and it literally scared us to death. Me and my brother and my sister, we were all there. We really thought we were about to be dealing with this disease in a big way, because I'm going to be honest, had he stayed that way, I don't know what we would have done, because we could not have handled him. He was so, a helicopter came and landed on top of the building, and my daddy thought that they were after us, and he was wanting my brother to get us out of there and hide us. And this is another thing, and then the nurses were, trying to calm him down. My daddy is not a violent person, and he ends up slapping the nurse because he's out of his mind. And they're telling us, this is Alzheimer's, this is dementia, this is what we're going to go through. And all this happened in a matter of like 2 days. So we're thinking, how did it progress that fast? And so what we knew was this new medication was the last thing that he had gotten. So I immediately took him off of it. I said, no more of that, let's just see. And we did, and within 2 days, he was back to himself. I tell you this story because I understand after watching that situation, what the families go through. And it's not only emotional, mental, you've got to make some physical decisions right then as to what you're going to do. And it is taxing. And so just that little bit that I got of that, and then by the way, they determined he did not have dementia or Alzheimer's. It was all medicine induced from another one, and then this one popped in. Sometimes it just happens. You don't know until it happens. So my daddy can never take those things. So as I'm watching this, and I'm sitting here, looking from the outside in going, oh my gosh, we are fixing to deal with this. My heart, I understand these families that not only watch their loved one go through this, but the loved one that actually is so confused that they don't know what's happening to them.
And you brought up so many good points. I could probably have
like
an hour
I could
conversation.
cry thinking about it right now. I'm serious.
But you brought up some very good points, though, that talking about what he was feeling, that a person living with dementia or Alzheimer's disease, if that's their reality, if they think that today is 1966 and they're getting ready to go to the prom, that's their reality. And it's sometimes it's redirecting them. It's going along with it when you're able to. But you have to understand that what they feel, what they know at that moment, that's their reality. Another thing that you brought up, the medications. And as many of you know who are watching today, Alzheimer's disease, unfortunately, we don't have a cure. We don't have a way to stop the disease. But we do talk about diagnosis and the importance of it. And so many times people say, well, why get a diagnosis? And one of the points that you brought up, medications, other underlying illnesses, urinary tract infections, vitamin deficiencies, severe depression can mimic the symptoms of Alzheimer's disease or dementia. So it's important to talk to your primary care physician and know what's going on with your cognitive health, know what's going on with your overall health, because if you are having a memory issue, it may be something else. So it's important to be aware of what's going on with your own body, with keeping with your primary care physician. If it is something more serious, then you're able to plan. You're able to get involved with a clinical trial, you're able to plan your long-term care, you're able to plan your finances. And it's unfortunate that a lot of times that we do talk to families that they waited too late and they're in a crunch and they're trying to figure out, okay, what will Medicaid cover, what will it not cover, what assets do I have to get rid of, spend down, and those situations are really hard to watch because there's only this system that we have, and it's a good system for the most part, but it does have its flaws. So being able to plan ahead of time is very important, and that's why we really encourage families to talk about it, don't brush it aside. It's a hard conversation. I know it's never easy to talk about.
Be proactive.
Be proactive
with your family when you start noticing things that are different. And we did with my dad. And that's why I say that first medication, they really thought, okay, he is in the beginning stages of this. Prepare for this. And when that happened in the hospital, it literally, it's terrifying. It's frightening. Yet the staff and the doctors are like, we can handle this. This is what we're going to do. We're getting a plan. Well, when I realized, hey, look, let's eliminate some things. You have to be proactive just to make sure, because it triggered that. And, to this day, my dad has had no issues. And I thank God that we got to the bottom of what was actually going on with him, because, there's no telling what would have happened.
Right.
Because I'll be honest with you, the day that all this happened, we were looking at each other going, there's no way we can care for him at home. There's no way. And I thank God that we didn't, but I pray for those who do deal with it. I know personally what you're dealing with because I've seen it. And that's another reason why I wanted to focus. And like you said, early detection, getting you a plan in place. And the volunteers, I'm going to talk for a minute about the volunteers that help TJ. He can't do this by himself.
No.
So I know that, especially in these events and things like that, one I can think of is Michelle McGee. I absolutely loved her, and I think she has had some history of family.
Yeah,
is that correct?
Yeah, and I don't think she would mind me saying, but her grandfather, he did pass away with Alzheimer's disease.
And she's a big advocate.
And she
so,
is a big advocate.
And that's the thing. We want people not to have to deal with what we're dealing with. If there could be a cure, or there could be some kind of medication that you don't know about unless you go get diagnosed, that's why they do what they do.
Right, and that's another, talking about clinical trials, with what's going on at Precise Research Center in Flowood and at the Mind Center at UMMC. An early diagnosis can get you into these clinical trials sooner. And there's clinical trials going on all across the country and nearby states. If one of these doesn't fit your criteria, you don't fit the criteria, but a lot of times you need to be in the earlier stages. People get diagnosed later and they're not able to participate. So
because the disease has progressed too far?
Yeah. It's progressed too far for the trial,
Gotcha.
for the certain medications, because the medications have to go through, it's about, 6 stages. And so, really an early diagnosis and being involved early on so that we can see how the brain is impacted, to see, how the symptoms are treated. The next medication a lot of researchers are looking at is, treating Alzheimer's disease similar to the way you treat heart disease, because it is a buildup of protein in the brain. And so scientists and researchers feel if we can stop that buildup of the protein in the brain, then we can stop the disease in its tracks. So that is hopefully the next
And
step.
a lot of times heart disease patients, diabetes patients, and patients like that, they're susceptible to a brain disease because of what they go through, their medications and all those things.
Right, and people who have diabetes are more likely to develop Alzheimer's disease.
My daddy has diabetes.
And
He had all the symptoms.
Yeah, and
He had all the signs.
all the signs. And I just, while we're talking about it, I don't want to be Debbie Downer or anything, but I just like to remind people that Alzheimer's disease is a brain degenerative disease. That the brain is actually being impacted. The brain is actually shrinking. The hippocampus is being impacted where your memory is made. So it is a disease where your brain is actually, and not to sound morbid, but your brain is dying. And I like to remind people of that because I think some people say, oh, it's just memory loss. No, it's a lot more than that. And that's why we have to keep fighting and get those diagnoses. So
It is a lot more than that. It really is. So you can check out his website. If you have any questions, you can contact him through his contact on the website. They have a phone number here. I'll put it down. And I just want to thank you because, you've brought up some very valid points that I didn't even think about. Even though what we went through for that, short amount of time. And I thank you for that. And I thank you for what your organization does for the state of Mississippi right here in our own backyard. And if there's anything we can do to help promote, support, anything we can do for you, let us know. We will be looking through November. He's got some walks. We'll be posting those on our pages. And also, I know that you need volunteers for the April the 6th event.
Yeah.
How would they get involved with that if they wanted to?
So you can get involved with us through our website, alzms.org. You can call the office. Like Cindy just said, we do have walks coming up. We have the caregiver conference coming up in November. So if you're interested in attending, that's free. The Sante South Wine Festival, all of that information goes live December 1st. And so you can go to our website, alzms.org or santesouth.com.
And you can pop me that on December 1st because you know I'm not going to remember.
Oh yeah, no, I will send out to everybody on here and everybody that even knows my name. You will get December 1st. You will hear from me.
Oh, good. We love that. We may pop back in here again before the April event, probably in March, to promote that event because we need to support what they do. We never know what's going to happen to us. You never know what's going to happen to you or your family. So get involved, be proactive. And thank you for joining us today. Thank you so much. I love you.
Thank you for having me.
I just love you. All right, so we couldn't do these without our sponsors. Today, it is sponsored by the Perfect Pooch, Highway 51, Ridgeland, Mississippi. Lisa and her crew are awesome. My little Lacey loves them. Lexi did too. Now she's in dog heaven. But I love her and what she does. She loves these puppies as they're her own. I'll tell you a little story, and it's just a little clip. When Lexi died, Lacey would not eat. We could not get Lacey to eat anything. And she was in such a traumatic state, she was losing her hair. Literally losing her hair. Lisa led me to a food that Lacey loves, that she doesn't itch anymore, and it saved little Lacey. I'm not kidding you. So she's not only a grooming and boarder, she loves your puppy. She wants the health for your puppy. So love her. If you have a dog, cat, go in there and see her. They love them. Also, Kim Goodson, Crye-Leike Realtor, 1069 Highway 51, 853-3995. She is one of the top rated realtors in our area. If you're looking for a house, sell or buy, give Kim a call. She's a personal friend of mine. She is amazing. So thank y'all for joining us today, and I hope that you, like me, have been educated, and I hope that you tune in. We're going to be doing some stuff this weekend, and we'll see you around the town.